low, I'm going to add my low sodium tomato sauce right here. Because we're trying to watch our sodium. We're going to give that a good stir. And the last ingredient, which was our pasta. So I actually have Angel here. I couldn't find a 3-ounce package, so I had to buy a pound, which is fine. It won't go to waste in my house. My husband loves pasta, so I'm going to use about a quarter of this package. You could use any pasta you want for this, but keep in mind, if you use a thicker type of pasta, whether it's thin spaghetti, this is Angel here, it's like the thinnest pasta. If you buy the thick or even the regular spaghetti, it's going to need a little bit more time to actually cook. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to break this in 2-inch pieces like that. And I'm going to let this simmer for 15 minutes so that it cooks the pasta. Because normally we cook pasta in boiling water. Well, the tomato sauce, the moisture from that is going to cook the pasta. Okay. And we're just going to stir that up. And we're going to let it simmer. So a simmer is when you see kind of little bubbles at the top. It's not a boil. And we are going to let that sit then for the 15 minutes while it just kind of cooks.
Can I ask, what type of grain are you using for the pasta? Is it, you were breaking, maybe you already mentioned it, but I want to ask again, what grain are you using? Whole wheat or what is it?
So I could not find the whole wheat Angel hair pasta. So this is regular pasta. However, I would, if you could find it, I would recommend using the whole grain pasta whenever you can. So I will, that's a good opportunity now that you mentioned to talk about what whole grains are actually. So a grain is actually composed of 3 parts. You have the germ, bran, and the endosperm. And usually when they're processing a grain, they remove the bran and the germ, which the bran is a great source of fiber, and the germ, a good source of healthy fat. So what they have left, the endosperm, is ground up. That's what they make flour with. And usually they will add something back to it, like some of the B vitamins to enrich it. However, they don't always add back the bran and the germ that's ground up. So a whole grain product has all of those benefits in it from all 3 parts. So that's why we always say go with the whole grain as much as possible. And how you could tell a product is whole grain, if you look at the nutrition label, one of the first 3 ingredients should say whole grain on there. So whole wheat, whole oats, you should see whole in there. Okay, so that is pretty much done for now. We're just going to let it cook so that it's done. I'll keep it on low heat. And I'm going to bring it back to here. So any more questions so far? Anybody have questions? Yes.
Okay, so you're preparing a burger, right, out of that?
No, that's just plain. That's going to be your pasta meal. That's
pasta,
the rest.
Okay. Do you want to add water in that to give it a medium to cook it, or the sauce will be enough?
The sauce would be enough to cook it. If you find that it's getting a little bit dry, you could always add a little water though, as you mentioned. Okay. I am going to go wash my hands really quickly. Okay. So now we have our last 2 recipes. And the salad actually, or it's the black bean bowl, we're not going to put it completely together because we're not going to be eating it right away. So what I did, I have all of my ingredients up here. And I also wanted to make this kind of into another nutrition lesson. So I have all the ingredients, and this is how, let's say you're prepping all of this on Sunday. Let's say it was yesterday and you're prepping for the whole week. So what I would do is I would actually put all of my ingredients. So I got some black beans and corn. I found low sodium corn, but not black beans. So what I did is I just rinsed them off to get some of the sodium out. I put them in separate bowls. And I also chopped up my fresh tomatoes. And I cooked up my brown rice. So everything, when you're ready to make it, is already there. When you get home, all you have to do is just plate it all up and serve it. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how to plan a balanced meal. Who has heard of My Plate? Okay, you want to tell us what that is?
Like I just heard, like I've not really gone in depth with it, but I've heard about it. Like in many articles and stuff, they tell you how much to eat and all for balanced meal or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else want to contribute? Okay, so My Plate is actually, if you go to the website www.myplate.gov, it's actually an educational tool to help people make sure that they get all of their food groups in for a meal. And so there's 5 different food groups. We have fruits, vegetables, grains, protein, and dairy. So the whole concept behind My Plate too, it's supposed to help to teach you about portion control as well. And I have my plate here, actually. So I'm going to put this to the side for now. So see, I have pretty flower plates like this. So My Plate, if you're trying to portion everything, half of your plate should actually be filled with fruits and vegetables. A quarter of your plate would be for your protein, and then a quarter for your grains. And that's how you want to set up your plate at each meal you have. The dairy portion is on the side, actually. And usually we don't have dairy with every single meal. So I usually advise my clients when they ask about the dairy, at least 2 servings a day. And I show them what a portion size of that would look like. And a lot of people do not consume dairy, actually, a lot more than I thought. So there are a lot of non-dairy types of milk. Some of you may have tried them already, like almond milk, soy milk. And if you use those as a substitute, that's fine, but you want to make sure it's fortified with calcium. Okay, so let me show you with My Plate how this would look. So I have, this is a bag of romaine blend. Like I said, you could use whatever kind of lettuce you prefer. It doesn't matter. And so I'm going to plate up my salad. These are always hard to open too. I'm going to plate up half of my plate with the lettuce. And this is actually a nice blend because it has carrots and cabbage in it too. However, you can, if you're trying to save money, you could always buy it just regular romaine leaf lettuce. So that's about half of my plate. And then I have my beans. This is going to be my protein. Now, if you want to do chicken or a ground turkey, something else, that's fine. So then I'm going to put my beans in a quarter of my plate. So we have our protein. And then I do have my tomatoes. So where's the tomatoes going to go? Yeah, it's going to go on top of my lettuce here. That. Now, I hope I don't confuse you with this. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about vegetables. We have what's called starchy vegetables and non-starchy vegetables. Could anyone tell me what a starchy vegetable would be? as I'm
Potato.
holding it. Corn is one.
Right.
Peas, any kind of potatoes, those are considered starchy vegetables. So even though it's a vegetable, I always tell my clients to put it with the grains because it has more calories than these vegetables here. If I look at my bag of lettuce at the label, this whole bag of lettuce is 60 calories. Okay, and this whole can of corn that I just poured in here is about 200 calories. So big difference in calories. And not that corn is a nice thing to have in your diet. There's a lot of fiber in it, but it does have more calories than the other vegetables. So I would include it with the grain portions. So we are actually going to divide our quarter here that belongs to the grains. We'll just put a little bit of corn here. And then some of our brown rice right there.
Is it also because vegetables have more water content, that they have less calories?
Yes, yes. So, and I mentioned that too, like with the mushrooms, using those instead of other things because they give they moisten the ground turkey. Okay, so this is what your plate would look like if you were following my plate. Do you see that? Okay. So then you have all of your containers ready to go when you get home, and you just put this together. That goes with this. I promised you to talk about dressings. I'm going to pull a dressing out of my fridge. This is Kraft Zesty Italian dressing. And if I look at the back of it, 2 tablespoons of this has 340 grams of sodium. And if you were to measure 2 tablespoons, we sometimes use a lot more than that too, just because it doesn't cover the salad as well. So I wanted to find a dressing that didn't have as much sodium. So I thought, why not make one while we're here? So this dressing has a 1/4 cup of Greek yogurt, fresh lemon juice, and then you could season it however you want. I prefer to do a little bit of cumin. So what we do with this is we just slice the lemon. I'll get my cutting board. And get this back out. Just slice the lemon in half. If you have a juicer, that's fine, and I get the seeds out too. And I just kind of squeeze it in there. Yeah. And I take my cumin. And you just give that a stir. And that actually loosens the yogurt up, so you have a nice dressing consistency. And that'll stay nice in the fridge for a few days as well. Any questions so far with it? Okay. So let me check on what's going on the stove top. That's what it looks like. I don't know, could you see that?
You can put the camera down, like, something like that.
A bit like that.
Yeah.
We can see it. Yeah.
That's what it looks like. So you could see the spaghetti softening up. 5 more minutes left to it. And then I will check on the turkey burgers. There's my burgers. Could you see those?
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to flip them so that they could cook on the other side and get brown. Get my spatula. gonna let the turkey burgers cook for about 10 more minutes and they should be done. So lastly, what we have is our sweet potato fries. And like I said, I'm not going to, or if you were doing this like prep day, you probably would not make the sweet potato fries thoroughly or just do the whole recipe because they will get soggy when you go to eat them the next day. And you want them to be like a French fry, nice and crisp. I don't know if any of you have an air fryer because you could use that. That'd be perfect, but I don't have an air fryer. My kitchen, as you know, is kind of small here, and I don't have room for another appliance like that. But what you can do is you could actually prepare the potatoes. You could cut them ahead of time. So I will show you like what size they should be. And then what you could do with those potatoes is put them in a Ziploc baggie with some of the oil you're gonna use and just kind of shake it up and put it in the fridge. And then the next day you could just put them on your tray and bake them up. So let me show you though how they should be cut. Now, I normally don't buy potatoes. Look at the size of this potato. This is huge. My husband likes to go to the Restaurant Depot because he's a member there. So he brought home 25 pounds of sweet potatoes. So I said, I know what I could do with those. I could use those for cooking class. Okay. So the recipe, if you're only preparing for 2 people, you probably would need maybe like half of the sweet potato. That's how big it is. So let me cut half of the sweet potato. See how thick it is? Now, I actually like to leave the skin on my sweet potatoes just because there's fiber in the skin. It gives it more of a health value to it. And then it also helps with the crisping as well. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut this little end off right here. And then you could do this however you want. Some people like to do them in rounds and just leave them. I like to do them in sticks though. More like a French fry shape. However, you don't want them to be too thick or else they won't cook. So I'll just kind of show you here. Want it to be about that size. So I have a bunch of Ziploc baggies too that I like to use. So what you would do is you would throw all of your little matchsticks into the baggie, and then you would get your whatever oil it is you're going to use, whether it's canola oil, olive oil. I like to use olive oil. And you're going to toss that with any seasoning you may like in the bag, whether it's cumin or onion powder, and just give it a shake, zip it up, put it in your fridge, and then it's ready to go the next day. Yes.
Is there a chance of discoloring the potatoes? Because usually they discolor, right? They become black when they are exposed to air or something like that. So normally, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, normally when we cut the potato, we put them in cold water so that they don't discolor, and then we use it up in our cooking. So would there be any discoloration if you did that with the seasoning and oil inside the fridge or whatever?
So the oil, any kind of seasoning you use, it kind of covers the surface of it, and that blocks the oxygen exposure. Plus, if you have it inside your Ziploc baggie, that should help keep it from browning. If you have the time, what would probably be the best though is that you just did it on that same day. You know, if maybe on the Sunday that you're prepping all of this, you could actually go ahead and just make them while you're prepping it. Then you could eat it that same day. If you do have these left over, what you could do, you could make them into fries again. You could just put them back in the oven to crisp them up again. Or what you could do is you could make it into hash. Have you ever had a hash? You would just take them and chop them into smaller pieces, and you could fry it up on the stovetop with some onions, and I sometimes do a scramble out of them with scrambled eggs. You can just do it all together. So that's another meal idea for you as well. I provided some suggestions for you because like with the spaghetti meal, normally you have something with your spaghetti at every meal. So that's why I told you to buy a bigger bag of the lettuce if you did, because that spaghetti dish that we just made, you could actually put a side salad with that. With the black bean bowl, I had put tortillas on your list. You could actually either just eat the tortillas like you normally would, just plain, or you could put some of the filling in the tortilla and make a wrap out of it. Or you could make your own tortilla chips. And how you would do that is you just cut your tortillas like a pizza into 8 pieces. And you kind of lay them out on your cooking sheet. And you could either spray them with some cooking spray, or you could rub some of your olive oil on them and put your seasoning on them. And then you just cook them in the oven, maybe for like 4 or 5 minutes on each side to desired crispness. And you have some homemade tortilla chips that don't have a lot of sodium in them. So those are my ideas kind of what you would serve. And then with the turkey burgers, you would usually have your fries with those, sweet potato fries. And then you could buy any kind of whole grain bread that you might want to use with it, whether it's a regular hamburger bun. I've had these on English muffins, toasted English muffins. So there's a lot that you could do with that. Any other questions then that you have up to this point?
No. You've been doing great, though. No.
Thanks. Okay, so let's go ahead and we will kind of wrap things up a little bit. I'll show you what's going on the stove top. I'll pull my computer over there again, my laptop. So, you see that? How does that look? You can see the noodles are nice. They're, it looks like actual spaghetti now. And this is something I'm actually going to try with my son tonight to see if he will like it. Like I said, he's hard to please. So if he accepts this, I will be a very happy mom this evening. So we could say that this is pretty much done. We could turn the heat off. And it's always important that you store your food properly. So you don't want to stick this in the fridge right away. What you can't do is you could just get your little bowls. If you're going to portion it out, you could put your bowls out and put it into the bowls and let it cool for maybe an hour. And when it's cool, you cover them up and put them in your fridge right away, because you don't want this sitting out for a long time. Okay, so I'm going to put that over there, and then we're going to pull the burgers out. Here's my burgers. They moved around a little bit. So we could see if they're done by just kind of cutting in the center like that. And I could see that it looks done actually. It's not pink on the inside. And when I cut into it, there was some juice that came out and it was actually clear. It wasn't pink. So this is a sign that it is done. But like I mentioned before, it's nice to invest in a good thermometer for your kitchen. And you could just stick it right in the center there, or right down the side through the center, right? And then you could check the temperature in the middle. And I always like to cook my burgers. I know it's probably considered overdone, but I like them to be about 160 if it's ground turkey, 160, 165, because they're going to actually continue to cook when you take it out of the oven. So the temperature may even go up a little bit further once you take it out of the oven. All right, so we have about 5 minutes left. Does anyone have questions for me? None? Well, it was a pleasure doing this. Like I said, this was my first time teaching it online. So I'm sorry if there were any little hiccups along the way, but it's a learning experience. And someone said that they teach. Someone
did a
said
great
that they
job. Thank you.
teach nutrition. Huh?
You did a great job. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
You teach
you.
the nutrition classes?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I teach ed leadership in Florida.
Oh, okay, okay. All right.
We're really,
So let me type my my email address down here. And if you have any questions, please send me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as possible, within 24 hours.
I really appreciate you doing this for us. Everyone, I sent you guys the recipes in the chat. That should have all her recipes and everything, and for you yourself can do it. So we really do appreciate you coming and yeah, and doing this for us.
No problem. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for organizing it too.
Everything looks good.
Thank you. I like your background.
Thank you. My wellness week background. I'm all ready for my week. But thank you. Thanks everyone for coming, and hopefully you
Thank
guys
you
show
so
up for additional services that events that we have. And thank you so much, Tara, for helping us through all of this. So. Hey, Michelle, I think yeah, thanks. Bye everyone.
Hey, Cindy, you still there?
I am.
Hey, thank you so much. This was a great opportunity. I know, like I said, it's a learning process for us all, but it turned out great.
It did. I am so appreciative. I don't even know how it happened or what happened.